each of you to introduce yourselves very quickly. Well, I don't need you three guys to introduce yourself, but I'm going to ask Lasanka, Holly, and Tobias to introduce themselves very quickly.
Thanks, DJ. Look, I don't want to take up too much time. I'm the CEO of a company called Independent Reserve. We started in 2013. We were very early in the whole crypto space. We're an exchange. We wanted to be the best on-ramp, off-ramp for AUD, NZD customers, and look, we don't want to faff around. We want to, we just want to be the background and the infrastructure for people to get into the crypto space. But yeah, exactly. But mostly, I just want to create the stage for the next layer of people that are building, great kind of crypto platforms and investments, and yeah. But yeah, I think don't worry about Independent Reserve, but if you guys want to get into this, use Independent Reserve. Cheers.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. I'm Holly Stevens. I am CMO of a company called Beam. So if you go to ico.beamwallet.com, that's where you'll find more information about us. We're actually an existing business, and you may not know about us in Sydney. We do have a couple of stores that operate in Piermont, where our office is, and our team. But we're an existing business that's been going 5-6 years in Dubai, Sweden, and Sydney. We have just under 1 million users on the platform, and we are live in 400,000 stores, both online and offline. And we're currently going through an ICO at the moment in pre-sale. So you can take a little look at if you're interested. We're raising 25 million soft cap and 40 million hard cap, which has started and ends in December. But essentially what Beam Wallet is, or Beam, what we're building a global acceptance network for the 21st century. And now issuers and acquirers could be an app rather than a card, or it could be rather than banks having that. And we will start to reward customers for the day-to-day exchange, and every single transaction you make, you will receive rewards. There'll be no payment fees from Visa and MasterCard. We're taking that out, and you will start to own your data rather than Facebook and Google. So that's what we're doing. That's a brief background to us. Essentially, if you download the Beam Wallet app, you can go into Piermont, you can go and spend money there, and you receive typically 16% back on any transaction, any store within that network. And we work with Carrefour. We're huge in UAE in all the petrol stores. So yeah, that's a brief background to us.
Awesome. Tobias.
G'day everyone. I think most of you know me. I've been here quite a few times before. My background's been in derivatives trading, and I've been pretty serious in the blockchain space for the last couple of years, primarily trading and investing in the space, running a small private vehicle. The latest move I've made is to join Fred Shabesta at Hivex and Finder, and we're rolling out sort of financial services for the industry. We're looking after the sort of financial backbone of ICOs, OTC trading.
That's me. Just checking.
We've got some big ambitions around the banking space to do both partnership with Goldfields and other digital banks, and to look after some of the unmet needs in the space, such as opening bank accounts for projects and dealing with the money side of things. So there's sort of a lot to come in that space, but it's pretty regulatory intensive.
Yeah,
and
good.
We're working on it.
I think there'll be a few questions about that Goldfields relationship coming up. But let's open up to the floor. But I'm involved in the loyalty space. I just want to ask Grant the first question to get the things rolling. You've been in the loyalty space for a long time as well, or the points industry. What makes rewarding people with tokens any different to points?
Yeah, I think there are like several property differences. So with points, let's just say you get points from Nike. You can only use it at Nike. They don't want you to use it at like Reebok. The whole point of loyalty is for them to come back to the shop. Also, $5 worth of Nike cash, let's just say, is worth $5 6 months from now as well. So it's very static. So I think loyalty is here to stay. It serves a purpose for brands. But to reward using tokens is very appetizing, I believe, because sure, the value can go down, but to receive something that can actually reflect a value of the network that can grow is something that's exciting, because if I contribute data to the network and it grows, and the value also grows, that's different than a point. And also secondly, since it's decentralized and trustless, you can actually trade it like cash. So you can actually trust that people will see value in it, and that they can trust that the value is there, and you can go on Binance and buy it and things like that. So there are a few differences.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, one more quick question. Maybe everyone can answer, but like in less than 1 minute, and if it's not, then I'll just grab your microphone. But so what's happening in the market, and where will we see the bottom for Ethereum? So we'll start at the far end there. So
Yeah,
less than a minute.
I've sort of seen the writing on the wall for some time with Ethereum, because it's paved the way for the industry and been a great sort of, I don't know what the correct word is, but to show us what's possible with decentralized networks. And its greatest use case did become the ICO. The problem was that everything that people were building, the network couldn't actually sustain it. The TPS wasn't high enough. So I think it's a great proof of case for what distributed ledgers are capable of, and hopefully they can scale it with the sort of 3 major things they're working on to do so. And I certainly haven't written it off, but I think the challenge is firmly out there for other up-and-coming players to take that distributed ledger technology to the next level now. But price-wise,
Make a call.
what do you want, a low or a what?
Yeah. Yeah, give me a low. What's it going to bottom? And Richard, take some notes here for me, please.
Yeah, look, I'm still not bullish, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trader. Okay, nice one. Holly, quick snapshot.
I'm not going to make a comment on what I think is going on with monetary value of it. I will talk more around what I'm seeing from a lot of events that I've been to over the past kind of 2 months. So we were on a roadshow around, so we launched at World Blockchain Forum in New York probably 2 months ago that we're doing an ICO. And then we went on to Bangkok and Thailand and Korea and all these places. And what we are seeing from us doing this roadshow is so many other companies building on Ethereum. And it is seen to, it's got smart contracts built in. It makes sense for us because what we're doing, and we can accept and build and scale our business a lot quicker. And I think it does provide us with that capacity that we just can't do, and we can't scale quick enough as we want to, not building on something like Ethereum. So I think it's really paving the way to start to scale products and projects a lot better and quicker.
Great. Peter.
Well, as the Ethereum fork, I guess I see a lot of danger in Ethereum. I think Ethereum has got a lot of strict competition coming up, some really heavy competitors, including ourselves in a sense. But even if you look at the EOS platform and many of the others, they scale up. I think that basically Ethereum taking on so many tokens and using it as a general platform to take on tokens that really are going to fail in a lot of ways is probably not good for the blockchain. I see its value really falling down over the next 12 months dramatically. I do believe that there will be a comeback somehow, whether Vitalik basically does a hard fork himself, or basically he goes into a soft fork and changes the consensus protocol. I'm sure it's not going to die, but it will basically devalue. There's no doubt. The competition's too heavy. 3rd generation coins are here.
Okay.
They're fast and scalable.
Great. Grant.
All I can do is speak from a project perspective. So we raised an all ETH, and so I look at the price very often. Hope it goes up. But as a project looking for an adequate base protocol, we're not going to focus our energy on building another base protocol. We're better at the UX level. We're adapt. And so we found that Ethereum did not meet our needs in its current state because we have very high TPS on our network, like very high number of transactions. And if you're in offline, you can't wait around at the counter for transactions to go through. And so for our type of business, we're looking at and considering other options beyond Ethereum right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think to add on to what he said about Ethereum, from a project's perspective, for us, we still see Ethereum and the network of ERC20 coins to still be the majority of coins out there. As you guys might know, there are many competitors to Ethereum now, which boast scalability and speed and stuff like that. But it still, I think, remains a very open-ended question as to whether any of Ethereum's competitors would be able to prove a use case to the market as to how Ethereum has done so with ICOs. So I think the competition is going to be very stiff for Ethereum, but I still don't see Ethereum's position in the market going away in that sense.
Excellent. Lysenko.
Thanks, DJ. So I guess like we've been around for a while, so pretty much every ICO, every Australian company that does an ICO, they set up an account with us. We kind of talk to them. They use our order book. They use our OTC desk. So I guess we've had a fair bit of selling. And one comes to mind. They kind of used us today and last week and all this kind of stuff. So, and they're kind of building to scale up Ethereum. So whilst they felt in the short term that you know, like EOS and Stellar Lumens and I don't know, some other smart contract platforms are an immediate threat because of the marketing they're doing and the immediate awareness that they're getting and some incentives that they are providing for developers to start building on their network. They felt that within the next 2 years with, you know, sharding and like Casper and all these kinds of things, that Ethereum's going to be, you know, like be able to support 60,000 transactions per second within about 3 years. Right? This is the inside mail from who we're talking to that are using our order book, our OTC desk, right? These guys are selling, right? And this is the reality of the market. The pressure's there. These guys have raised F. These guys need to support, you know, pay their rent, pay their staff, pay their marketing, all these kinds of things. But right now, like having heard of this kind of groundswell of guys that are actually building on the Ethereum network, I think I'm a little bit bullish. So I would say maybe there's some opportunities there for the traders with that kind of appetite.
Awesome. There's an interesting opinion. Thank you very much, Lysenko. Okay, let's open up to the floor. Who's got some questions? Anyone? Oh, hang on. Grant, sorry.
I believe I made a promise to distribute
Yes, you
T-shirts
did.
and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I'll have them. Thank you.
Whether it's a carry question or not, or any question, if you guys
We'll do
ask
that later on. Thank you very much. Yes.
if you guys ask any question to any of us, I'll give you the shirt.
Perfect. Okay, first question, first shirt.
Interoperability.
First question, first shirt. Who's up? Who's up? Here we go.
Can I have a shirt?
That's a great question.
You can.
You can exit. Okay, first question.
All right, I have a question for Diamonium. Since you want it to be used as a, for Diamonium, Since you want your coin to be used as a usable cash system, right? It should be kind of stable, right? So it won't be exchanged on the platform, right?
No, it's absolutely exchanged on the platform. You're saying in the financial markets? Yeah, absolutely. The idea is that it is a financial asset, but it's also a commercial asset. And how we do that is basically through, look at it from this perspective. We've got something called Diamond Pay. Diamond Pay is like, just imagine barter card, but it's pegged to Dimonium, which is a financial instrument or financial asset. So if you look at basically Dimonium, it's a world global currency. It's decentralized. It's a decentralized autonomous system, but at the ground level, the commercial level, we've made it more stable, and we've got some processes and systems that we use to make it a stable currency. So yeah, for the merchant and people who have got it in their wallets.
You're not having it.
So it's another. It's a currency. There's a commercial currency and there's a financial currency or global currency.
Awesome. Next question over here
For Peter.
Yes.
Down here.
Hi, Peter. Over here.
yes,
No,
hi.
no. Over here. Down here. Woohoo. Where the red ball is.
Oh, right. Okay. So,
Great. Just a couple of questions about how you avoid centralisation. So speaking, some specific questions. How does the regulator access SARS? How do you determine participant participation? Just generally address those questions.
Yep. How we basically avoid decentralisation. When you say decentralisation from governments?
How do you avoid centralisation? Sorry if I got my tongue upside down.
Sorry, centralisation. You're talking in referring to governments.
I'm talking, if I'm a regulator, how do I get my SARS?
Well, that's in every country it's different.
Yep.
So we have a legal team. The head of our basically government compliance is a very knowledgeable person that basically.
But is that centralised?
Well, it's not exactly centralised. It's they do have a node that basically has non-private transactions, but they don't have a free reign to that node. If they have a need to investigate a certain person for fraud or for whatever it is that they're searching for, then like the banking system, they have the ability to go in to find out what whose transactions they are and basically do something about it. So we're not looking to, for people who want to evade paying their taxes or who want to, use it for terrorism or anything like that.
But you are the adjudicator, right?
Well, to a degree.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Next question. Lovely lady down the front here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all right, my friend. Use medium or small?
What are we talking about here? You'll be the judge of that, David.
Do I look bad here?
Okay, less technical, more practical question perhaps. So I come from a traditional/digital media and marketing background. So when I'm marketing something, the strategies we'd use would be social media, SEM, so AdWords, SEO, content, pushing that out through media or self-publishing. When it comes to an ICO, if I'd like to move into that area with my marketing, what should I keep in mind? What kind of platform should I be using? Maybe it's a question for you, Holly.
Awesome.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So one thing that I've really learned, because my background is actually being in corporate, like I used to work for Google and do Android Pay marketing as well. So very much SEM, SEO was huge to finding customers finding us. But the one thing that I've really seen that's different in this area is community is key. And I suppose, Carrie, you guys can probably speak around this as well, around having Telegram groups, people really understanding your product, communicating that really clearly, and articulating what you're building, and if you are an existing business. So we actually have like 20,000 in our Telegram group at the moment. There's a few people chipping in around airdrops that we've launched and bounties that we're launching as well in order to kind of raise our profile in that area. Reddit is really key as well. A lot of people go on Reddit. So Telegram, Reddit, kind of the crypto forums, Bitcoin Talk, altcoin forums. I've seen that's really different. And then kind of being out there and talking around, going to events, getting our founders in front of investors. I tend to do a lot of talking around what we're building from my background as well. Events really key, kind of being surrounded with other people in this community, but that you can learn off as well, I think has been really key.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Holly. And question down here.
I have a question for Bridge X. So you want to be a crypto bank. How do you decide the interest rates for borrower and the lender?
So I think we use that word bank very loosely because we're doing here loans, conversions and payments. But bringing you back to my point earlier that we are a two-sided marketplace. A two-sided marketplace means that you actually see participation, democratic participation on both the supply side and the demand side. So it's really going to be decided by the demand and supply of the market. Right now what we are seeing here is many one-sided marketplaces where your supply side of lending is actually controlled by financial institutions or accredited lenders. That means that borrowers, if they decide to slap a 35% interest rate, borrowers in the crypto space would have to accede to that interest rate or not take a loan at all. So most of the existing, our existing competitors are one-sided marketplaces. We as well as a two-sided marketplace, we are onboarding financial institutions and accredited lenders. Just to share with you a little more, we have already committed to having BCA Bank come on board as a lender for them to explore lending in the crypto space. But aside from having financial institutions and accredited lenders on board, we are also opening up lending to anybody in the space that has assets that they want to lend out for an interest. So I guess there might be an indicative interest here of maybe like 10 to 15%, but ultimately it's going to be left for the market to decide.
Lasanka, did you want to ask a question? Okay, catch. And then you get a T-shirt. Are you small or large?
Yeah. Thanks, DJ. You know, sales and exchange with 100,000 customers and a very old one. I guess banks hate us, right? You said you've got a said bank relationship with BCA.
Yeah, BCA has actually backed us in our previous project with Wallex Technologies. So
Oh, yeah.
they are an investor in our traditional business. They've given us the green light as well to come into the crypto space with the Projects Network.
Right. I mean, it would be great if Independent Reserve can get an introduction to BCA. I mean, we're building a pretty good business, bringing people into the crypto space.
Yeah, that's something we could take, on a beer afterwards or something.
And you can wear your shirt.
Yeah, thanks.
Mate, business development, that's great. Now, next question. There was one over here, wasn't there? Awesome. Catch.
Yeah, mine's also from my friend from BridgeX Network. It's interesting because I actually work for a large retailer and we send a lot of money, like a few 100,000 overseas to Hong Kong pretty much every week. And as myself being an accountant, I can see like the friction and the fees and things that we pay. And it frustrates me because I love crypto, but trying to suggest doing that transfer over crypto now would just be preposterous, just not. We need a sort of intermediary, which is something that I sort of think that you guys could potentially go into. Do you see yourself being able to have that kind of liquidity to actually operate at a traditional business level that wants to do foreign exchange and move into that market?
Yeah, so I think to address that question on liquidity, we have already had intention to actually do this, I think, for the past year. The reason why we decided to pursue an ICO and to raise the funds we're raising was that we really appreciate the importance of having liquidity pools, especially in the various fiat pairs that we are doing. We don't actually see any of our competitors in the use of proceeds or token distribution, setting aside anything for liquidity pools. So up to now, we're still wondering how they do it with liquidity. And that might also explain why, when they launch products, that it's very illiquid or you have very wide spreads. So for us, because we've all come from, more than half the team has come from either a finance or trading background, we understand we've actually set aside about 30% for liquidity pools. And we feel that that's going to help to make the marketplace very liquid. But I think on your other point about a business, right now we are looking at transaction flows of, I think, many intermediaries. So to give you a quick run through of a guy in the crypto space, you'd right now either go through an OTC player or crypto to fiat exchange. Once you have your crypto converted into fiat, that actually goes into your bank account. So that becomes the first problem, because if a large enough sum comes into the bank account, it would likely raise a red flag with the bank. And secondly, even if that comes to fruition, you then actually have to take this amount in your bank, convert it to maybe 30 different fiat currencies, and then instruct the bank to make a wire to each of these 30 countries. So you already have a time lag where the OTC or crypto to fiat exchange is getting that money into your bank account, and then you have to wait for the bank to send that monies out to whoever you want to send it to. For us as a platform, it essentially means that a company like an ICO who has raised 40,000 ETH, they wouldn't actually require a bank account.
Excellent, excellent. Let's just cut that off here. We've got to keep these questions moving. Sorry about that. Thank you very much. And we've got a lovely question down here.
Hi guys. So really excited to be here. First time exploring crypto, so thank you so much. This has been really exciting. I had a really high level question, actually 2 questions. One is...
Does that mean you want 2 t-shirts?
Yes, maybe, potentially. My first question was, how do you build trust with users that don't use crypto, and how do you maintain your trust with your current crypto users? And my second question is, what was my second question? Oh, what is your message for people that are on the edge of either falling back to traditional ways of handling money or going into cryptocurrency?
Can I take the first question, if that's all right?
Yes.
So around building trust, I think that's one of the key things that you need around mass adoption with crypto. And for us, we are building a utility token as well, so we want people to use it. I think it makes it a different case when you're an existing business. People know that it works. The retailers that we're in, there's multiple examples on here, but I think that's really going to drive mass adoption and trust within those users, and communicating to them throughout that life cycle what you're building, when you're building it, keeping to your timelines, perhaps also the use of GitHub to see what's actually being built on the platform as well. I think that's really key to building that, and having your founders visible as well, which I think has been really key for us, and why our ICO's kind of been successful at the moment as we're raising those funds.
Great, great. And who's going to answer that second question? Tobias, right next to you. Thank you.
So that's about crypto in general, not so much the products.
Hey.
Yeah. So my biggest advice to sort of take that adoption step is to learn about it as much as possible, and what the different aspects of the technology are good for. Like Bitcoin's the sort of first blockchain, and Ethereum's the next iteration, and everybody was trying to fit a blockchain to everything last year, and a lot of times that's not appropriate. So the best advice I could give you would be to make your own mind up about the tech. If you're considering investing, and I'm not giving investing advice, to go with the things you understand. And that's the way I'd like to see the sort of adoption spread, is through knowledge and understanding of what it's good for, what it's not good for, and what the proper use cases are. And that's how I think we bridge the gap of adoption to the wider community.
There's some really good YouTube videos as well to kind of make it a lot more simple. I was kind of at this area probably a year and a half ago, but I found YouTube was really great for that, because Reddit can get very technical, so very high level. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
awesome question. Let's roll on. Let's move it on. Question up the back here, I think, for Grant from Carry Protocol.
Yeah. From your presentation.
No. Talk into the.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. During your presentation, for the pre-sale, you talked about those 550 investors. And how are you going to help more investors to come on during the crowd sale? Maybe I'm thinking of if you're going to limit it to less than 1 ET for.
I see, like a personal cap.
Yeah, a kind of cap.
Yeah. So for our public sale, we obviously we have to consider a lot of factors as an ICO project. Getting it to the hands of every single person in the world would also be awesome. But at the same time, I think we also want to consider quality. So in the pre-sale that we did, anyone could join if they passed our KYC whitelist. But this time around, we actually want our initial holders of Carry Token to truly understand what we're about. And so we're actually implementing a quiz. So you actually have to not only pass our KYC, but you have to answer like 5 questions that you would only be able to answer if you've read our white paper. So we're actually not trying to get many more people. We're actually just trying to have it so that the people who do hold it are like really in sync. And so when we make an announcement about a new partner joining our platform, they know what it means, like for our project.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're limiting the ETH too as well. So.
Question up at the back here from hard-hitting Richard Galvin from the DAF Trust.
Hey Grant, my question's for you. You mentioned you've got a relationship with Line, who I think has about 300 million users. It'd be good to get insights how a company like that's thinking about crypto and how they make their moves in this space.
Yeah, so this isn't Carry, it's Spoka. So Spoka is my existing company, and when you check in Japan, we actually have iPads in Japan as well, in Tokyo. You can also receive a Line message saying you just got like 5 points from this shop. And that shop can send you coupons through Line as opposed to SMS. So we have this relationship that we've like tried for a long time to get them to say yes to, and we got them last year to sign with us. Line and Kakao and all the major Asian tech unicorns are all doing crypto side projects right now. They know it's big enough to disrupt themselves, so they're investing resources into understanding what it is. But to say that they have a very clear plan of what they want to do is actually, I think, maybe overestimating them right now. But right now, you actually, for example, in Korea, you already have a team of 100 people getting paid real salaries, 100% just focusing on blockchain and how it can actually benefit KakaoTalk. So they're betting pretty big onto this, but we don't have any clear roadmaps yet.
Great, great. I'll come back down the front there. We've got another one from the laggards in the back row at the back here. Lovely young lady.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cindy. I have a question. I'm an event organizer to bring performances from China and also to set up expos. So my question is, like myself, I was interested in crypto and I heard friends talk about it, but I never actually to participate in this kind of event or check out online. Do you think it's valuable to set up pop-up events in the traditional event space and just kind of convert this concept to the general crowds?
Lasanki, you might want to start on that one. Is that something that you guys would be into over there at the Independent Reserve offices?
I don't know, DJ. Maybe you would be the best person to speak to, because I guess you would be competing with DJ here. But most likely it's a very open space, like the crypto and blockchain space. It's permissionless. So if you have some value proposition and you have an idea and some message to provide, the world is your stage. But just know you'll be stepping on DJ's toes.
No. It's all about community and it's all about adoption. But yes, correct. Australian Blockchain Centre, brought to you by Block Labs. Watch this space.
I actually think...
Holly?
I was just going to say, I'm actually different to what you've just said there. I think that this space is very saturated with a lot of events. I think there's great ones like this one where there's people that are really interested in crypto and blockchain and the capacity to either invest or get involved with them and learn from people that have been there and doing that. But then you have a lot of events where you'll have to spend a lot of money to go along to it, and the actual benefit is for the event organisers, not for the people in that room. So it just seems like it's driven through not part of the blockchain community, and you will see that the right people will go along to the other events, but the ones that are driven by just monetary value and just trying to make some money, you tend to drop off the best speakers. So just be very wary of who you're getting there to speak. Also do some research on the ICO that you want to speak and those people that are going to be there. I've just seen that there's so many that are on all the time in Hong Kong, China, all of Asia, US, all across Europe, and there's a stream of events. But yeah, I think these ones are great for people in the community.
Great. I've got one down the front here. I've got one up the back. The gentleman up the back, I think he's a golfer. He's in a white shirt. He's in a white hat. He'll be up next. I've got one back down the front here.
I've got two questions.
You want two shirts?
No, one.
One? Take it you're extra large.
Yeah.
Sorry, would large suit you better.
What's the best country to do an ICO in terms of regulations?
Singapore.
Singapore?
Do you not think Switzerland?
Also, at the current state of how the crypto market is, a lot of people would try and raise, let's say, 1,000 Ether to start up, but now one Ether is like $290 US. When they first started their ICO, it was like 800, and then they don't have enough to pay their developers and so on. What is the market's going to be like in, let's say, a month when no one can pay their developers, their rent, this and that? It's like going to be a big crash, or?
Yeah, well, the thing that's happened is and it depends a lot on the individual project, and I think it needs to be outlined in the white papers when people make the investment, is like what their treasury policy is. Because if you're investing in a project, you're not investing in them to speculate the crypto on your behalf. You're investing them to build what they said they'd build. And that's why I think you're going to see, especially after this adverse market move, that people are going to have to outline what their treasury policy is. Like, are they going to keep 50% of it in ETH or Bitcoin, and how much is in cash? And I think you'll see a lot more risk management procedures coming into the space. So
what? So more raising in cash, more raising in that split between tokens and equity, or
yeah, well, like it's
more STOs, or
one thing we're working on is just letting people like basically insure a floor price and things like that. So
really, yeah, good question. How do you do that?
Put options, basically. So
okay,
but I think a very good kind of observation here is that as the market matures more, the investors and the regulators and the guys that are issuing tokens are going to become more aware of the more tax-effective locations and jurisdictions. And I think that's what Toby was touching on. So, but as the market matures, and you know, as the markets, you know, as investors and the investor market, you know, doesn't run away just based on the idea and the flavour and what it is and a claim to be, you know, a global interoperable protocol for, you know, whatever it is, the market's going to become sensitive to all the other factors like the team, the jurisdiction, the taxation outcome, the treasury management policies. And you know, I think where the market is right now, this is the start of it. And you know, take a view 6 months from now, a year from now, you know, the investors are going to be a lot more sensitive to it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I've got a question up the back here. Thank you.
One for Dynamonium. How do you secure your network?
Secure your network?
Yeah, you said you're a fork of Ethereum, you don't use mining, and you mentioned a referral program.
So are you asking about our consensus model?
Yeah, sorry, I came in a bit late.
So we've got you can go on the website and have a look at our white paper, but we use a delegated proof of authority, which is a little bit different to proof of stake. The proof of authority means that if you want to be part of the decentralized autonomous system and you have a node, or you want one of the nodes, you have to make yourself publicly known. And we've done that because we believe that when you're playing with money, we just don't want anybody basically on the network. It's not a mining exercise, so it is basically that we are putting trust in people with nodes. Not that they can do anything, but except they can disrupt the model. They can disrupt the business of the transactions. So if you put your reputation on stake, I think that you're not going to be doing the wrong thing. Usually proof of authority is for, you know, notaries or, you know, reputable businesses. That's the angle we've taken, and that's how we secure it.
Excellent.
I think it's probably one of the most secure systems.
Excellent. I've got a question here. So I don't have the right size T-shirt for you though, but then after that, there's a lovely young lady here that might be able to score one as well. So firstly here.
Somewhere else. I don't want. My question's for Holly. Just when you're presenting cryptocurrency to people, how important do you think it is to have at least one of the presenters able to connect to people emotionally, as opposed to somebody who technically knows everything, but won't connect emotionally with people they don't know?
Yeah, it's a good question. And actually, if anyone's seen we've got two founders. Our founder, Sadar, he presented at World Blockchain Forum, and he's so passionate about what he does. And his backstory is really interesting. He was an analyst. He's a technical background. And he decided that he's going to leave his corporate 9-to-5 job and build he's a Turkish guy. He decides to build a kebab shop in the middle of Sydney. So you wouldn't have ever thought it would happen. And he builds a kebab shop, and one of the challenges he had with his kebab shop was he couldn't get any customers to his shop that were new, or he had existing customers, lapsed customers. He didn't know how to get them there. But he's so passionate about what he did and how he's built it over the 5 to 6 years and scaled the business rapidly. And having someone on stage who can speak clearly about the product they've built and the investment they've gone through, and now what we're building in the future. Having someone that Sardar may not emotionally connect with people like that way, but he has got other people to do that. So I tend to go there, or Shazan, the other founder, or Freya on my team, and we tend to talk around the products. But we also have our CTO that tends to present that as well. He's very technical, great background. So I don't know if it tends to matter that much when you're that passionate about your product.
Excellent. I've got a question here, please.
Yeah, this is for Grant. What does it mean, like Spoka? What does that mean? And also, what did the inspiration come from for Spoka and Carry?
Spoka the name was created by my co-founder Richard. When we did like cold calls, people were like, sports car, like what are you guys? So we didn't like the name so much, but what it is social point card, like kind of combined. Social point card, that's why it's Spoka. And the inspiration came from just having really thick ass wallets all the time, like having to go to a shop and get a stamp card from them, go to another shop, get a stamp card from them, and having a wallet like really thick, and then you just leave them at home anyways. And so we thought loyalty could be done in a better way, and we tested out so many different ways, and it just turns out that putting an iPad on the counter and saying, hey, put your phone number in. I think the phone number is kind of like your new social ID. Like you don't ever change it, anymore, and everyone has it memorized. And so that's kind of how we were able to get, scale to 16 million users in Korea, and yeah, through lots of experimentation.
Great. Question down here.
Hi, I've got two questions. The first question for our Singaporean friend, and then the next question for Peter. First, the question for our Singaporean friend. You mentioned that if you have 10F and you want to borrow 9F, you don't need to go through any credit checking and so on. But how do you stop people from using up the original 10F that they based on to borrow the 9F? Does it mean that I would, for example, put my 10F with you and you somehow lock it up? Now, the second question is for Peter. You mentioned that there are no mining to create your coins. I just want to find out where your coins come from, and does this mean that there would be no growth in the number of coins in the future?
So I think to answer your first question, the concept of a collateralized loan in a decentralized world means that BridgeX as an entity doesn't hold this the borrower's collateral in custody. So what happens is that this 10 ETH goes into a smart contract between the lender and borrower, and the smart contract actually governs the terms of the loan, meaning that the borrower would not be able to access this 10 ETH because the smart contract guarantees that it stays there as security for the lender, and he can spend the amount that he borrowed, and obviously on a monthly or every 2 months he'd have to make repayments to that loan. And the smart contracts in a decentralized manner would also look at things like margin calls and liquidation calls. So obviously if the loan to value ratio drops, then we have sufficient warnings for the borrower to be able to top up his crypto collateral in order for the smart contracts not to liquidate a corresponding amount to bring the loan to value ratio back to, let's say, a 70% LTV.
Great. Peter?
Like Ethereum, we are not a capped currency. We're exactly the same. When we say we're not mining, mining basically sprouted from proof of work systems. And a proof of work obviously requires a lot of electricity. It's a first generation technology like Bitcoin. Systems, even Ethereum at the moment wants to go to a proof of stake system. You can't really call that mining. Validating and authorizing transactions, which is all where the third generation technologies are going into. Basically, they've got to get their economic, they've got to make the banking system, you might say the authorizing or validating system, viable through the transaction fees. And of course, that's how it operates.
Awesome. Great. I had a question over here. somewhere? Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. It was ages ago. Apologies.
Hi, this problem. Sorry. This question is asking grandson, and is that possible? Yeah, is that possible for you to describe the entire society of South Korea trade Ethereum or Bitcoin? Because to my understanding is if the entire society is trading few products and the euphoria and the frustration, you could really see the cycle of the society. Kind of even bus driver could have a really good day and driving bus with a smile on their face, and a really bad day, and just everybody is suffering. So if the entire society is trading something, and is that possible for you to describe the society of that? I just out of curiosity, just like your grandmother is even trading, and how's the society look like?
So you got in early.
Everyone looks really sad these days. You go there, everyone's really sad. And it's a chip on their shoulder. So our hope is that we don't remain in just purely trading mode like this society. I think it's a really necessary first step. It got people interested. People know now what the kind of, to a certain degree, what the underlying technology is before they invest, hopefully. And so we think that our hypothesis is that South Korea is a great first testing ground for actual utility, because at least it's a household name. At least it's something that people have touched and traded and sent to people. The drawback of that is that it's a society that's like also, I guess, emotionally volatile if so many people are trading in Korea and the market is so bad or so good. I wouldn't say that it's to a point where people are like, the entire national mood, like World Cup like level, is determined by the price of Ethereum. But you know, in certain circles, like you can definitely feel it, I guess, like you can taste it. But yeah, I think we're hoping to go beyond and evolve beyond this to become one of the first grounds for people to actually experience it. They may not even know it's a blockchain product. I want people to actually experience the cryptocurrency. And Korea is a great country for that.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Let's hide that tech. Let's drop the word blockchain, and let's just get it being used. I'm seeing it all the time. So these big enterprise plays, and you walk in there and you talk to a CTO and you talk to a marketing manager. They're like, blockchain, what's that? So if you can go in there and explain to them about a piece of technology that operates, it's just going to solve a problem for them without using that word blockchain. It's awesome. So yeah, well done, Grant. I've got a question up the back here. Another one for I think all of the panel.
Hi everyone. I have a question for all of the panel.
Sorry, can you hold that just right next, because it's a little bit hard to understand. Hold it next.
Okay. Is that fine now?
Bit louder.
Okay. So my question is, we all know crypto market is down and the mood is already bearish. So would this have impact on upcoming crowd sales? Should the people hold on, and wait for a little more time? What tips or suggestions would you offer them to, bring back the confidence?
So
did you guys get that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Grant, you're going to start,
Yeah,
and Toby, do you want to have a go at that? And
So as a project that's actually just going through with the crowd sale anyways, like this month, despite the price of ETH and things like that, the reason why is because I think we've built up enough of a community to confidently say we will fill it up. I think we have enough confidence to fill up the amount that we want to fill up. We're even applying extra filters to make sure that the right people are the ones filling it up. And so out of like the 37,000 people in our Telegram room, 20,000 people actually went through the process of the whole taking a selfie, scanning their passport just to participate in our, participate in our ICO. So it's all about, if your project has enough confidence in that the community is sending signals that they really are interested in your project, I think that those are the ones that are still going through with it.
Great. Toby, do you want to have a comment on that? And then we'll slip it over to another question.
Yeah, although it's tough, this clean-out's probably the best thing that happened to the industry. There was so much junk and just rubbish and flat-out scams that raised huge amounts of money last year. So although it's a little bit tough for projects to raise right now, I'm sure the good ones will get there. And yeah, the industry's going to be stronger for it, because the level of pain that's been delivered to people is commensurate to the level of speculation that was going on last year. And the quality will rise to the top, but it's looking like it's a little bit few and far between, and it's making it harder for the projects that are out there right now, but I'm sure the good ones will get through and the industry will be all the stronger for it.
Great work, great work. Quick question from up the back here. Hang on, bit of silence, please. Quick question up the back.
Okay, thanks. Question for BridgeX. I'm a newbie at this, but I'm very interested. I've heard a lot about you saying finance, loans, those sorts of terminology seems to almost come straight into consumer finance, AFSL, all of those credit issues. Is that something that you've got around because you're using smart contracts, blockchain, whatever, or are you still captured by that and by the latest ASIC regulations that are coming in?
Yeah, so I think from a regulatory standpoint, to quickly address your questions in loans and in fiat, from the perspective of loans, we're actually pursuing a crypto-to-crypto loans marketplace. So over here, we're not dealing in any fiat loans. So because it's crypto-to-crypto, it still remains unregulated. Secondly, with our transition from cryptocurrencies into fiat, when we're doing conversions, it's actually going to be a back-to-back relationship between our unlicensed and our licensed entities. Because we're going to be pursuing a unified KYC and compliance policy across the two entities. We're going to be ensuring that banking standards of KYC and AML checks apply to anybody that's coming in from the crypto space, to ensure that subsequently when the money goes into the traditional world of fiat, that the licenses still remain sound.
Great. I've got a quick question. Lasanka, running one of Australia's largest exchanges, can you just give us an overview of what it was like towards the end of last year, running that exchange, and you know, where's the exchange today, and how's the traction happening? How's the traction going?
Look, I don't mind a layup at all. Thanks, TJ.
Mate, you got a room full of investors here. You know, it's.
Look, you know what? Independent Reserve, we're a very humble business. We started in 2013. We had like this vision, you know, we kind of found out about crypto and Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff, and we thought this is something that could potentially change the world. So we kind of invested our time and money and our knowledge and some of our relationships into it. And when I say relationships, some of them deteriorated, our wives, girlfriends, all this kind of stuff. But the, you know, like ultimately what happened is, you know, crypto's gained so much recognition, and in the world of kind of deteriorating fiat finance and all this kind of stuff, like it's built so much faster than we ever thought. And you know, from a personal perspective, we started in 2013. We didn't make any money since till 2017. You know, we were literally like eating our own shit. Till about October last year, and you know, we were working other jobs. We were working, you know, like you know, doing tricks at the cross at 3 a.m. all this kind of stuff, and fortunately our vision and, you know, our skills have kind of resulted in, you know, and you know, it's not to do with us, but the market's built, and the value of crypto, the market has realised, and it's just turned out fantastic. And right now, and I will tell you, we've got, you know, I think it's been mentioned a couple of times, and I want to like toot my own horn. We've got about like 100,000 customers. We have, you know, like our team is about 30 people strong. We have certain partnerships. Look, we've just appointed PwC as our auditor. We have a certain partnership with KPMG, which will allow like a certain tax integration. Our vision as a business is to be the #1 crypto brand name in Australia. But one of the other things is that, you know, we want to be the first to be audited, to be the first insured, and the first to be listed in Australia. And you know, all these things that I say, they don't come lightly, and you know, we bleed day and night, and we sweat day and night, and then so we can create this stable, kind of brand name and this industry, and yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Awesome. We might try to wrap this up now. Last question over here.
Yeah, kind of a difficult question. You know about exchanges, I don't. What's going to happen if the price plummets, like seriously plummets, if Bitcoin goes under $1,000, if Ethereum goes under $100? What's going to happen to all these small exchanges? And what's it going to be like for the people who've got money or coins on those exchanges?
So,
like just your view.
Well, yeah. Look, I'll tell you what. So what happens is right now, like I guess in the last 2 years, we worked very closely with Austrac to bring in the regulations that came in on the 3rd of April. And that essentially created a certain standard for basically anyone that was taking crypto or fiat and doing some sort of exchange. That created a standard for them to be able to take, like it's to have to keep a certain record, and if something, if they took cash and it was, suspicious in a certain way, they would be required to report an SMR, a suspicious matter report, this kind of stuff, right? We were kind of doing that in about 2014. And, the reason that we went to ASIC in 2014, asking them for an AFSL, is that we felt that anyone that was taking, a couple of $1 million a day in deposits from, like thousands and thousands of customers, if they were going to do this, we wanted them to be held to the same standard that we were, that they would hold the customers' funds separately to their own funds, that they would treat, they would build systems that these would be, so that would protect the customers, that would, like make sure that the bad customers that were doing something unscrupulous will be, handled a little bit differently. And if anyone's doing something bad, you could call up the New South Wales Cybercrime Commission. And this is the kind of stuff that we've built, right? And this is kind of, ultimately, this is what we've come about, and this is what's happening today. And this is what Independent Reserve is about building, consumer protections. I actually forgot the question.
Well done, thank you.